So this week, Phillip and I really started putting our mess back together. Is it finished yet? No. Will it be before we launch in 99 days? Yeah, hopefully.
So this is a honeycomb product. It's from Plascore. So it's a 1/2 inch thick, and which is what the old flooring thickness, the core of it was, but it was plywood. So this is a polypropylene honeycomb, so it's super lightweight. It is flexible without glass on either side, so I'll glass it and then build the panels. And right now our current thought is to put some strips of cork on top of it. So because of how big these pieces of fiberglass that I'm laying up are, I can't easily wet out both sides and then lay them down on the substrate. And then also there's a scrim on this honeycomb panel that I need to wet out first. So right now I'm trying to get the scrim fully wetted out, all the little wells filled with epoxy. Not actually the wells inside, but like there's little like dimples in the surface, kind of like you would think of a golf ball. Those all kind of get slightly filled with epoxy, and then when I lay the fiberglass on top of it, since it's dry, we'll pull up any extra resin, and then I will wet down through the top layer. And so this is going to be the top side of the panel, so there will be 2 layers of glass going on, and then on the bottom surface of these panels we'll just get 1 single layer of 1708 fiberglass. Mostly the reason the top is getting 2 layers is impact protection. It does add a little bit extra stiffness, but mostly it adds a lot of protection from someone's foot or knee, or they drop a hammer or a sail bag with clips on it. We don't want that to like puncture through into the honeycomb, and so I tested a piece of this I had with a screwdriver, a scrap piece that had 2 layers on it, and I was struggling to have the screwdriver punch through 2 layers of 1708, which makes me feel fairly happy that under normal wear and tear, besides like a child or someone taking a hammer to the floorboards, I don't think they will break and crack. I'm just trying to work the resin down through the weave so that it is fully wetted out, but I don't want too much resin, because if you have too much resin, then it can also create a weak laminate. You're trying to get that happy medium where the whole weave of the fiberglass is saturated but not flooded. This one, this first layer on this side, I'm okay with having a little bit too much resin, as it will get soaked up with the next layer of glass that gets laid over top. This first layer is split, as I'm trying to conserve the material that I need and the amount. The top layer is a single solid layer.
After cutting the pieces out, Phillip glassed them over with 2 layers of 1708 on the top and 1 layer on the underside, and then he added some carbon fiber to the areas that would be under slightly higher amounts of stress. We also used aluminum cord panels for the 2 bigger hatches right as you come down the companionway stairs. These 2 will see the most abuse over the coming years, and we wanted to make sure that they would hold up if anything should tumble down the ladder, whether it's a person or otherwise. No one wants to end up in a bilge. Then it was time to see if they all fit together. Ooh.
Huh? Those don't hardly flex.
I can see a little bit, but
I mean, you can still, like, you can see this flex if I step on it. So. It feels nice.
it feels good.
Yeah.
I think they look good.
A little bit low, but
They're a little bit low, but you're going to put other stuff on them, right?
not much.
So I mean, it's not much, but it's a little bit.
Like nothing.
Oh, that's right. These ones are getting cork on them.
Nope, these are just non-skid.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's not that big of a bump. I'll clean them up.
Mm-hmm.
So. You want to stand on it? See what you think?
Sure. I mean, I'm a little bit concerned I'm going to end up in the bilge, but... Oh. They feel really sturdy. They were moving a little bit when you were walking on them, but they don't move.
No, I think they're just like pressing down on the edges slightly, so.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah. That's exciting. Thank you.
They're not that heavy either. So I have all of the floor panels made other than this corner. That one goes here. But I don't have like the edge supports, so it can't be walked on yet. So far all the other ones can be walked on. They seem to be holding up pretty well. There is a little bit of, like this one, and here rattles. But I'll need to work on leveling out the supports for it. But overall, I'm quite happy with it. They went in pretty good, quick and easy. Yeah, now I've got, you can see the lines on it that are scribed. So, they're not really scribed, they're drawn in Sharpie. And I'm just going to keep transferring them up through each layer of like fairing or paint that I do. And those are, so I know how it sits in the boat, and it'll allow me to place the flooring in a straight line when it's all said and done. So yeah, I'm excited with how it's turning out. There's definitely a lot of work left, but this was a big step forwards.
When Philip made each of the panels, he made them slightly larger than they needed to be, and then as he placed them, he trimmed them so that they would fit nicely together. The goal was to have a small gap at each seam without them being so snug that they touched together, because when the boat flexes while sailing, any areas of the sailboat that actually touch and are not bonded together have a propensity for horribly squeaking while underway, and it can make sleeping impossible. Here you can see how each of the panels lay and open up access to each of the areas of the bilge. Sizing each of these panels was a little bit tricky. Philip wanted to keep them as large as possible because every additional panel meant a lot of extra work and having to buy more latches for them, but I still needed to be able to lift them relatively easily, so they had to be pretty light. After glassing each of the panels, Philip faired each one of them and got them relatively flat. Because we're putting cork over top, they didn't need to be perfect, they just had to be close enough to keep the variations in height unnoticeable. After fairing, we applied bilge paint to the whole panel, and we've grown really fond of bilge paint. It's so durable and its slick surface is pretty easy to clean, so we've used it for quite a few things besides painting a bilge.
I just finished putting a layer of fairing compound on the top of all the panels and then filling in the honeycomb, the exposed honeycomb on the edges. So once this is dry, I'll be able to sand it smooth, and hopefully it looks good enough for paint. And then I will actually work on the underside probably tomorrow. So I got these two here, and then I've got these other two balancing on top of the ping pong table. As I was just running out of spaces to set the panels so they can cure overnight.
The cabin sole on our first boat had been a fiberglass pan with bits of cemented-on glue from the original teak and holly. We needed a cost-effective and easy-to-install option, and after some research, we purchased self-adhesive EVA non-skid foam. It was basically a big sticker. It was soft to walk on and warm on our feet in the colder months, and we didn't mind if it got wet. While it was prone to staining, it was easy to drag our little DeWalt vacuum around and get it clean, and for a deeper clean, we just use a soft bristle brush and some boat soap, letting it drain into the bilge. While we liked the EVA foam, we decided to do something with a bit more pizzazz the second go-around.
So the other day I ran all the cork flooring that I bought through the table saw, and I cut them down to 1.7/8" strips. So the plan is to lay them all up next to each other with a 1/4" gap, and then once they're all glued down and the glue is cured, I'll come back through it and I will fill the seams with the sealant that you would use on teak decks, which is black. So I'll get kind of a different turn on like a traditional cabin sole of teak and holly. Instead, it'll be cork with the like black sealant. So it should still look very elegant, but have a nice warm soft feel, and provide hopefully a decent amount of non-slip surface that helps deaden some noise inside the cabin, and also helps, just provide like a rich warm wood look inside it, as instead of the stark fiberglass pan that was in it originally. So right now I have Sharpie line drawn on them to indicate where to start laying them, so they all line up once they're inside the boat. And then this is the first panel that will have the cork, so I'm using a place like a perimeter strip, so this will actually terminate the cork into the non-skidded area in the galley. And I'm only gluing up the center line and then this one. Epoxy is super strong, but it's also kind of slippery when it's wet and sheer. Allow them to cure, so then when I go to do the rest of them, I can actually push into and set all the spacing without worrying about them sliding and twisting. So I have cut and created a pattern, not really a pattern, but I've cut all of these to fit. And so I then numbered the backs so I know which order they go in, but I also have them stacked, so I start from the middle, work out from the centerpiece, and then middle and going out that way as well. And I have a whole bunch of these, which are tile spacers, which will set the spacing. You get nice straight seams.
I thoroughly enjoy looking back at some of the seemingly insignificant decisions that Phillip and I have made over the years, and seeing how they have gotten us to where we currently are. In this footage, I realized one of those moments where a random skill that Phillip or I acquired has transferred so nicely to either working or living on the boat. When we bought our first house, the upstairs bathroom had the ugliest and most likely asbestos-riddled linoleum flooring, and the basement had some bare cement floor. We chose to tile both of these places and then also the kitchen counters. We used so many of these dang little spacers, but hey, they worked perfectly for the cork floor.
That's all the thickened epoxy I have right now. Hopefully Heather remembered to get more cabin sole so I can finish up tomorrow and get the rest of this panel done, and then also the other two panels. So it's a little bit of a tedious, slow process. Okay, so I got 2 more panels glued up. So I got this one, which is the next one after this would be the second panel as you're walking forward in the boat. And then I also have the third one. I'm trying to get my head out of that. Also glued up. And this is the cutout for the mast step. So I'll have to clean that up with the router. But overall, I'm liking how the lines are staying really nice and straight, and the gaps between each, like the seams, aren't too noticeable. I don't even know if the camera will pick it up, but I think once they're all sanded smooth, and I think standing on them you won't really notice. If you get down close, you'll see them, but I think overall it's looking really nice. So the edges of this aren't even, so I've got a router with a flush trim bit in it, and I'm going to go around the edges so I can trim it so it's flush with the bottom panel, and I'll give it a nice clean look, and I won't have to use a saw or any other tool, and it should be fairly simple. So this is the mast step area, and then we have 2 more panels that are done. There's one, and here's the last one. And honestly, I think it looks really nice. I'm really liking how it looks. I think once I put the black sealant between each strip of cork, it'll look really, really sharp. There's a little bit of gaps between the panels, but I think in the boat it shouldn't be too noticeable. So I am excited how it's turning out. Hopefully Heather likes it. Definitely needs some more work though.